Alexander announced in front of the entire company. The secretary, Serafina, shamelessly drugged me to seduce me. She is hereby ordered to resign. Get out of the building. I was fired on the spot by Alexander, blacklisted industry-wide. From that moment my name vanished from finance. 3 years later we met again. I had already married delivery, and he went insane. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening. A few days earlier, the CEO, Alexander, had been drugged at a bar and called me to bring medicine. I thought it was his usual stomachache acting up. I took the antacid from my desk drawer, hailed a cab, and hurried to the top-floor executive suite of the Celestial Grand Hotel. Click. The heavy wooden door swung open. Inside was pitch black. CEO, are you there? I cautiously stepped 2 paces and when, a burning hot body pinned me from behind and the door slammed shut. Don't scream, it's me. I recognized Alexander's voice and forced myself to calm down in the darkness. CEO, I brought your stomach medicine. Let go of me first. If you're weak, I'll help you to the sofa. He gave a soft, dark laugh. Who told you I wanted stomach medicine? He brushed my ear, teasing. I was dosed with an aphrodisiac. Shock shot through me. I struggled but couldn't break free. CEO, I'll call 911, the hospital. My fingers were almost on my phone when Alexander snatched it first. He hurled it against the wall. No hospital. I was stunned. CEO, you are my cure. Cool yet scorching kisses landed behind my ear, along my throat. I shuddered, knees buckling. CEO, we can't. My mind warred. One voice yelled, take him. After all, I'd secretly loved this man 10 years. The other warned he was drugged, maybe didn't even know who I was. Worse, he had a fiancé. Reason 1. I bit his forearm hard. Alexander hissed and released me. I sprinted for the door, fingers brushing the lock. The world spun. He effortlessly circled my waist and slung me over his shoulder. Sarah, you're naughty. My thin frame landed on the soft king bed. Dizzy, I spotted his phone on the nightstand and reached. CEO, I'll call Celeste for you. I thought mentioning his fiancé would sober him. Instead, he lifted a brow, smiling down at me. Sarah, don't you get it? I want you. Only you. With that his burning body came down like a wall. One hand cuffed both my wrists above my head, the other trailed fire everywhere. His hard, demanding kisses left me dazed. Until, after the violent storm he fell into deep sleep, leaving broken, exhausted, swollen-eyed me staring at the dark ceiling. At first light, still weak, I studied the sleeping Alexander. His handsome face looked almost boyish. Not knowing how to face him, I slipped on my torn clothes and took a cab away. I didn't know someone had filmed me bringing the medicine. Next morning the headline innocent secretary sneaks into multi-million CEO's suite shot to trending on X. Malicious comments flooded in. Everyone knew Alexander had a fiancé. His designated match was childhood sweetheart and sterling heiress Celeste. They'd been a couple since teenagers and flaunted their bliss online. Their joint fan base rivaled A-list celebrities. Followers couldn't stomach Alexander cheating, especially with an ordinary secretary like me. All assumed I'd used my position to drug and seduce him. Celeste fanned the flames, posting a photo of their clasped hands. Trust him, trust love. With my phone smashed, I knew none of this. After a shower and my usual crisp suit, I reached the office on time, only to meet stares of contempt. Brianna, always my rival, sauntered over, flashing her screen. Obscenities leaped out. Bitch, shameless, homewrecker, die. Former friendly coworkers pointed and sneered. So her Ice Queen act was fake. The room whirled. As I opened my mouth to defend myself, someone shouted, "The CEO is here." Alexander strode in, suit immaculate, power radiating. People parted. I saw hope. He'll explain, right? He stopped in the atrium and barked, "Why are you all loafing? Back to work." Then, at the turnstile, he glanced back at me and told the HR director, "Oh, Secretary Serafina, devoid of shame, used her post to drug and seduce me. Fire her on the spot, kick her out of Hawthorne Capital. Today, on behalf of Hawthorne, I declare her blacklisted across finance." Applause and murmurs erupted. "Karma," they said, "she'll never work again." My mind went blank. But it was him. Before I could speak, security dragged me out and flung me to the pavement like trash. Watching my belongings scattered in the dirt, I hated my broken phone for leaving me without proof. Hated my helplessness, no one would believe me. Hated my own blindness for loving a fraud 10 years. Ridiculous me, thinking he'd defend me. He hadn't merely expelled me, he'd erased me from the industry. With Hawthorne's clout, finance held no future for me. Bystanders filmed my disgrace, online cheers erupted. Mistress fails and gets burnt, serves her right. Alexander and Celeste fans stormed her Instagram. No way our Ellis would want that wannabe pure little white flower. Ellis, T-spotting master, look at herself before hitting on our CEO. While the internet trashed me, I knelt, gathering my things, planning to hide in my rented studio. But wherever I went, eyes judged me. I tried to hail a cab. A female driver took one look and spat, "My car doesn't ferry mistresses," and sped off. At last a male driver agreed. All the way he watched me in the mirror. "You're that innocent secretary online, right? Ride's free if you let me." I'd been wary. Before he finished, I yanked the door and jumped out at a red light. Clutching my box, I wove through highway traffic until, far from sight, I collapsed and cried. I told myself, "It's okay, Serafina, everything will be fine." Heaven heard and decided to mock me. Torrential rain poured. In heels I limped 2 hours back to my guest house. There, my landlord had tossed my luggage into the mud. The Chanel bag I'd starved to buy, my only status symbol, lay slashed and filthy. Like my decade-long crush, my vanity, my finance dream, all shredded. That squalor snapped my last thread. "Alexander, loving you was my mistake. May we never meet again in this life. Little, I'm heading out on deliveries, be good and wait for me at home. If you get hungry, there are dumplings I wrapped in the freezer." Julian snapped the chinstrap of his helmet shut. His handsome face turned the cheap rider gear into something a race car driver might wear for a GQ shoot. He ruffled my hair with those long fingers of his, and I couldn't help grumbling. "Let me come with you, delivering solo is exhausting. I'll cover your route, free cardio for me." I clutched the hem of his yellow delivery vest and shook it like an obedient little puppy. "It's sweltering out, stay inside and enjoy the AC. Relax. Your husband's got unlimited battery life." Saying so, he gave my baby fat cheeks a satisfied pinch. He's almost pampered them into existence, then rode off on his scooter. Back inside, bored, I pulled up the movie Little and watched for a while. I boiled myself a serving of hot and sour dumplings and polished them off happily. Lulled by the soundtrack, I drifted to sleep. In my dream, black, suffocating letters and every contemptuous glare closed in on me again. I jolted awake. It was already 9 at night. The sky was dark, yet Julian still wasn't home. Could he still be delivering? He's usually back by now. He quits around 8 so he can cook me dinner. After waiting with no sign of him and no answer on his phone, plus that long absent nightmare, I was too anxious to sit still. I hopped on my own electric moped and crisscrossed the blocks he normally serves. Julian often drops meals near the pedestrian mall, but I didn't spot him along the entire ride. Up ahead, however, a crowd was packed tight, some brand promotion, no doubt. Only a celebrity appearance could draw that size audience in a third-tier town like ours. Figuring Julian might be there, I parked and wandered into the plaza. Big corporations sure have money to book Gao Tianyu. Word is their CEO's a billionaire. The tall hottie in the middle? Ugh, totally my type. Listening to the teen gossip made me chuckle. I'd wanted a closer look, but with Julian still missing and the crush impossible, I gave up and threaded my way out. On stage, the billionaire seemed to spot someone and started pushing through against all odds. Even with bodyguards plowing a path, by the time he reached the street his target had vanished. Alexander was certain he'd just seen Serafina. I kept hunting, strolling along the strip, and past Julian's favorite coffee shop. Thinking I'd bring him a cup, I stepped inside, only to collide with someone the next second. Coffee splashed across my white blouse, an instant mess. The guy apologized at once. "Sorry, it's my fault for spilling." His voice died the instant he saw my face. Well, if it isn't the little scheming bitch, how unlucky." Startled, I looked up, a former coworker from Hawthorne Capital. Behind him stood a bunch of old acquaintances, all turning at his words. "Oh, it's the wannabe mistress the CEO blacklisted, still shameless, I see." Another tried to mediate. "We were coworkers once, go easy." Coworkers? She doesn't deserve the title. Thank God Xander erased her. The industry's cleaner without this slut. Unknowing customers pieced the story together from their insults, and in seconds every eye in the cafe was scorning me. Ex-colleagues stared as if I were sewer vermin. "If I'd known it was you, I'd aimed the coffee lower," a former sneered. A bystander chimed in at once. "Cameron, let me buy your next cup." Casey, an iced Americano brimming with cubes, dumped it over my head. "Seduced the CEO road trip, huh, skank?" All my once friendly coworkers, even the guys I called Big Bro, tossed me away like trash. She's probably here to hook Xander again. Shameless, look at her, forgetting her place, drooling over the boss. Our CEO's fiancé is Sterling Industries' angel, she's not worth that lady's pinky toe. The familiar venom surged over me in waves. I wanted to scream, no. It was him who forced me, but my throat locked, nails digging into my palms until skin broke. I still couldn't speak, it was as if I'd swallowed cement. I could only stand there while filth poured down, coffee dripping from my hair onto the once gleaming floor, filthy, just like my life. They wouldn't stop. Don't forget, you're public enemy number one. The internet never forgets, one post and your dirt goes viral again. Think a cute face lets you do whatever? So desperate to crawl back to Hawthorne? Start by serving us drinks on your knees. Marketing needs a new coffee girl, congrats, job's yours. Their leers kept sliding to the wet fabric clinging to my chest. I folded my arms in defense. You've got it wrong, I'm only looking for someone. They burst out laughing. Sure, we know who, you want the CEO. Pleasure us first and we'll escort you upstairs, how's that? Already a manager, Mason reached to paw me. Plenty of patrons, even baristas who usually greet me hey, sis, pretended not to notice, proof that to them I was every man's easy lay. No one stepped in. Just as I was about to cave and mutter, see, this world devours you, a voice cut through. Mason, I sent you for coffee, not to harass women in public. Alexander strode in, suit impeccable, radiating the upright authority that turns every female head. Only I knew how rotten the soul beneath that polish really is. Goose flesh exploded over me, nausea, vertigo, a ringing ear, memories crashed in like a broken mirror. Me blushing at him, me in tears while he forced himself, me trampled and stripped of dignity, all shards flying at once. I rallied every ounce of strength and lifted my foot to leave. Xander said coolly, if you've had second thoughts, Hawthorne can take you back. A bitter laugh escaped me. Take me back, as what? Office tea girl or corporate mattress? You misunderstand, President Hawthorne, I'm here to find my husband. Since he's not, I'll be going. Mason and company cackled again. Husband, classic excuse to sniff around the CEO. Who'd marry a tramp like you? Some retard? Already hitched yet still prowling, what a slut. Their words shredded the thin calm I'd clung to. Holding back tears, I told myself, it's okay, Julian is waiting at home. I turned and left. I drifted back in a daze and opened the door. Warm, fragrant air rushed out. Little greedy cat, you're home. Guess what I brought you? Your favorite wood-fired chicken. Julian wore a proud praise-me grin, but when he saw my bedraggled state and brimming eyes it switched to heartbreak. What happened? Who messed with you? Looking at frantic Jamie, I finally wailed. All the bottled grievances and terror poured out. Julian, I couldn't find you, I searched everywhere, thinking I'd gotten drenched simply hunting for him. He cradled me, heart aching. Silly girl, where else would I be? Don't worry, I'll always stay. Unless, one day, you decide you don't want me. I went on tiptoe, cupped his face in both hands. I could never not want you. No way. The warmth of the room melted the exhaustion off me. Let the past stay in the past. Alex, I already have Julian, the very best one. Back then, he'd pulled a skeletal, soul-ravaged me off the rooftop. He babied me through every hour, spent 3 years coaxing the softness back onto my bones. He gave me a place to belong. He spent night after night outside my bedroom door, terrified the nightmares would drive me to hurt myself again. I kept asking heaven, why me? I'd only ever loved Alexander from afar, never dared step an inch over the line. Really, just the innocent crush of a teenage girl. I'd merely worshipped a fantasy Alexander I'd invented. Why did I have to suffer such vicious punishment? Thank God heaven finally sent Julian to me. Little by little I forgave everything that had gone before. A man this good, what had I ever done to deserve him? Because of him I know the calmest, safest kind of love. Right here in this 500 square foot apartment, balloons, flowers, candles. He went down on one knee and offered me a ring he'd paid for with God knows how many deliveries. The day we signed the marriage papers Jamie grinned like an idiot and generously handed out candy to every neighbor upstairs and down. Love makes us two mice who've tumbled into a rice jar. Every single day is sweet and plenty. Alright, let's demolish this once-in-a-lifetime firepot chicken. In the end we polished off every last savory bite. To digest, Jamie strolled me round and round the courtyard, my hand in his. A few days later, Jamie hadn't taken a single shift so he could stay with me while I fell apart. We holed up, Sam watching dramas and chatting, until I finally shooed him out the door, myself again. Go deliver those orders. I'm fine now. Jamie clung to the doorframe. Let me enjoy 2 more days of married bliss. I planted my hands on my hips. Jamie, how are we ever going to raise little if you keep this up? Julian blinked, then caught the nickname. He eyed my belly, suspicious. You're pregnant? We've been careful every single time. Impossible. Then why mention little? Well, you're not getting any younger. We'll have kids eventually. They say babies cost a fortune. Of course we need to plan ahead. Watching my righteous tone wilt until my face was crimson, Julian stepped over and kissed my forehead. Relax, your husband can support you and a baby. Eventually he did head out. With me, jobless, behind him on the scooter, both of us high on the heroic dream of someday affording diapers and formula. In front of an office tower, Julian dashed inside with a coffee order. I stayed by the bike, and ran into the very people I prayed never to see again. Why is it always you? Like a damned ghost, several from the old Hawthorne group were just leaving the tower. Because of you Cameron got fired, you know that? Troublemaker, and you still show your face. No idea what Cameron had done to get fired. In their eyes I was guilty again. I played deaf, wheeling the scooter aside. They had no intention of letting me go. Call you trash and it's a compliment. CEO offered you a way back to Hawthorne, such noble refusal, huh? Now you hear we're wrapping up a deal and you come sniffing. Frigging leech, can't shake you off. One of them kicked my bike over. Another, worried the coworker was about to blow, urged, remember how Cameron got axed, don't make a scene. He gave me an arctic glance, as if I carried bad luck in my shadow. The guy only grew louder. I'm not scared. Celeste is my cousin, Xander's my cousin-in-law, he won't touch me. He shoved me onto the curb, toppled the scooter, coffee splattering everywhere. When he still wasn't satisfied and pulled back a fist, stop. Alexander strode over, fury on his face. Why is it you're always in trouble? I picked myself up, speechless, a cold laugh my only answer. From now on, wherever the great Xander goes, give the world a heads up, I'll clear a 10-block radius. I righted the scooter, gathered the ruined deliveries. Alexander said evenly, tracking me again, just angling for your old desk back? I'll take you back, one more chance. The self-proclaimed cousin exploded. Cousin-in-law, you can't let this bitch return. She's poison, Celeste will hit the roof. Alexander lifted a hand for silence. There's an opening for a janitor, steady pay, better than food delivery at least. I stowed the last cup, stood up. I have no idea why you think I want back into Hawthorne. You know exactly what I endured. Relax, your golden cage holds zero appeal for me now. His stare could have frozen fire. He said nothing. The cousin held, a woman like you, janitor is charity, so don't get cocky. I swallowed the insult, wheeled the scooter away. Little, there he was, Jamie, helmet on, sword-sharp brows, impossible to hide that aura. He rushed to me, checking for injuries, ignoring the mess. What happened? Did they hurt you? Julian's glare sliced toward Alexander's crew, fearless, terrified he'd start a brawl. I lied, I'd slipped. He kissed my cheek. Silly girl, let's get you home, hubby'll cook you something nourishing. He snapped on the pink helmet he'd bought me and sped off with me into the dusk. The watching crowd was stunned. So she really did have a husband, an outwardly gorgeous delivery guy, who clearly adored her. Guess she wasn't lying, the cousin muttered as the scooter vanished. The others thought they'd misjudged me. Only Alexander's eyes burned cold. I neither knew nor cared what any of them felt, Alexander included. My old crush looked childish now. I hugged Julian's waist, sunset filling the mirror. The Alexander who'd once saved me on campus, who'd promised to conquer the world with me, who'd stayed late with me in the office, none of it mattered anymore. I stayed home, figuring they'd leave eventually. If I couldn't fight, I could hide, but fate wouldn't cooperate. One afternoon Julian was out on a run when a knock came. I opened, and found the last person I wanted. I tried to shut the door, he slipped inside first. 500 square feet, tiny yet packed with care and warmth, and he looked utterly lost in it. I left the door ajar, leaned against it. Get to the point. Sarah, come back to Hawthorne. I'll reinstate you as my executive assistant, same pay, same title. I lifted an eyebrow, mocking. What's the catch? Divorce him. His gaze pinned me. I stayed by the door, half laughing. Why on earth do you still think I'd come back? You can see I'm happy here. He gripped my shoulders. You don't have to work at Hawthorne, but you have to stay with me. Stay with you, why? I inched away. I'll buy you a place 10 times bigger, keep you in the same comfort, servants, anything. So what you really want is for me to be your kept woman. Alexander, how desperate do you think I am? To become your mistress and let the world spit on me again? He caught my hand, suddenly fierce. It won't be like that. This time I'll protect. No one will ever question you or bully you again. I yanked my hand free and rushed to the sink, scrubbing like a maniac until the backs of my hands burned scarlet and the skin stung. Only then did the compulsive fit loosen its grip. Watching me, Alexander lifted his own hand in suspicion. The wrist bore a tourbillon, the fingers long, powerful, cool and spotless. You think I'm filthy? The word cracked out of him, disbelief flooding his face. But that delivery guy touched your cheek. I stared at my own hands, almost bleeding from the furious scratching, droplets sliding off like drops of blood. I lifted my head, a sneer stretching my lips. Wrong again. Except for him, I loathe every adult male on earth, equally. You just happen to be several levels more disgusting than the average. Seeing the shock in his eyes, shock laced with a shard of heartbreak, gave me a sudden, vicious thrill. So, Alexander, you still think I'll crawl back and play some ridiculous mistress for you? He clasped his head, on the verge of falling apart. I almost laughed. Come on, Alexander, who exactly is this you can't live without me performance for? Your true love, Miss Sterling, is waiting. Best wishes to you too, may you last forever. The moment Celeste's name left my mouth, he jerked as if shocked awake. Right, Celeste? It was all Celeste, she ruined you. Sarah, believe me, 3 years ago I didn't mean it. It's you I love, not her. I sent people to find you afterward, but you were already gone. It was for the stock price, I swear. Celeste forced me. Arms folded, I smiled at the man who wanted to step closer yet feared to. Alexander, you're still, as always, utterly nauseating. Falling for someone like you, talk about 8 lifetimes of bad luck. Hit where it hurt, his face contorted with resentment. You think that delivery driver is some kind of saint? Every man 2 times, he's just broke and lacks choices. Give him my kind of money, hundreds of millions, women throwing themselves at him. Let's see if he can still keep his pants on. Let's see if he pushes away the ones who strip and offer themselves. Get lost. I snatched the nearest cup and hurled it. It clipped his forehead, splitting skin. Not every man is as rotten as you. Julian is 1,000, no, 10,000 times cleaner than you'll ever be. After that, anything I could lay hands on became a missile. You lying parasite, you stinking cockroach, out of my house. He had to hop and dodge like a circus monkey all the way to the door. When it slammed shut and the chaotic silence returned, I surveyed the wreckage, exhausted. 2 voices tore at each other in my skull. One whispered, he's right, what tomcat doesn't steal fish? The other argued, no. You know exactly how Jamie treats you. You can doubt the world, but never him. Recalling every small moment with Julian, I drifted into a heavy sleep. I woke to find night had fallen. A blanket lay over me, the apartment restored to neatness, as if I'd slipped into some parallel universe where the afternoon's violence had never happened. I walked up behind Julian, who was busy at the stove, and wrapped my arms around him. Julian. I cooed. What's wrong? He twirled the ladle, casual, as though the soup were a work of art. If you were rich, crazy rich, would you forget it? I mumbled the rest into his sweater, rubbing my face against the wool. I told myself, you have to believe in something. And Julian has never given you reason not to. Julian twisted in my embrace to face me. Little, actually. I rose on tiptoe and pressed both palms over his mouth, trapping the words. Julian, don't. I don't want to hear. Just keep lying to me, lie for the rest of my life, okay? I searched his eyes, pleading. In the end he said nothing. Days rolled on, he still left early for food delivery runs and returned late, while I stayed home. Alexander and his entourage vanished as abruptly as they'd appeared, probably the project had ended. Each night Julian and I fell asleep in each other's arms, yet something invisible now wedged itself between us. His smoking flared up again, though we'd agreed to start trying for a baby. He'd slip out after I'd fallen asleep, returning hours later to shower before sliding into bed. He thought I noticed nothing, but every time he rose I woke, yet I pretended to sleep, too frightened to shatter the fragile peace. I couldn't imagine life without Julian. It would be like asking someone who'd seen daylight to willingly return to pitch-black darkness. I hugged him as if he were the last plank keeping me afloat. Then one day a message arrived, an MMS from an unknown number. I knew without looking it was from the revolting Alexander. The photo showed Julian across a cafe table from a stylish, pretty young woman. They weren't touching, but their relaxed smiles matched perfectly, an attractive pair by any measure. What stabbed me was the girl beaming at Julian, Taylor, Celeste, Alexander's fiancé. Julian, Celeste, both Sterlings. Study their features side by side and the family likeness is obvious. My mind spiraled. Had Julian been dug up from some distant branch of the Sterling tree, sent to make me fall hopelessly in love so they could dump me later as the ultimate revenge? The conjectures multiplied, none of them leading anywhere I wanted to go. I couldn't lie to myself any longer. Recalling those frequent midnight departures, I slowly sank to the floor, heart hurting so badly I could barely breathe. A tiny pool of tears gathered beneath me. I'd thought the online lynching 3 years ago was agony. Now I discovered a heart could keep cracking until tears fell like strung pearls. My brain, reacting to the overload of pain, forcibly powered down. I blacked out. When I came to, it was night and Julian still wasn't home. Fine, I had no idea how I'd face him anyway. I threw a few clothes and my ID into a bag, hailed a cab to the station, and caught the last high-speed train out of the small town. No one, I reasoned, would waste effort chasing me, but just in case I didn't ride to the terminus, hopping off at a random stop. After switching rides countless times, sometimes fearing I'd be trafficked to some mountain brothel, I finally settled in a village near Lijiang, Yunnan. It's a Bai-minority hamlet. The locals speak Bai, but most can manage Mandarin with me. They don't know my real name, everyone simply calls me girl. The hamlet is quiet, a beautiful river curls past the entrance, and every sunset gifts a new sky of drifting clouds. I'd left in such haste I only grabbed 5,000 in cash. I didn't even take my bank card, and after fares I had almost nothing left. At first I volunteered at the guest house where I stayed, trading work for meals and a bed. Gradually the indigo tie-dye the village grandmas practiced caught my eye. Apart from finance, painting is my only hobby, and it shares a rhythm with dyeing cloth. I grew obsessed with experimenting in the dye yards, reinventing traditional patterns. City tourists staying at the inn loved the skirts and hand-dyed bandanas I created. While working the dye vats I tasted a fulfillment I'd never known, having something I'd made appreciated and paid for with real money. Fleeing to this tiny village didn't feel cowardly anymore. At the time I simply lacked the strength to untangle those relationships. Now, calmer, I can look back and see that Julian gave me plenty. Aside from whatever tie he might share with Celeste, he never once hurt me. On the contrary, he cared for me meticulously. Though back then I wasn't truly independent, he did in fact raise me up rather than run me down. I no longer fear meeting him. Our marriage, after all, is still legally intact. It might shadow the rest of his life, and in the dead of night I still wonder whether I should go back, if only to set him free. As for the others, I don't owe a single one of them. My conscience is clear, so I will hold my head high. 3 days after I made peace with that, Julian dropped into my world as if the sky had delivered him. I had finished cleaning the guest house and, following my new ritual, walked to the stone bridge at the edge of the village to watch the sunset. He came from the far end, wearing a soft linen shirt and faded jeans, the dying light draped over his shoulders like a cloak as he moved toward me. Familiar, yet foreign. My heart still stuttered the way it used to, but my mind stayed icily calm. We sat on the bridge railing and talked until the stars came out. He laid bare every secret of his bond with Celeste. They share a father but different mothers. After the divorce he left for Europe with his mom. He had been back in the States only a few weeks when fate nudged him into my chaos. Helping me that first night had been pure accident. To untangle my knots he dug into my past, then realized how viciously his half-sister and her fiancé had wrecked me. He swore the moment he saw me he was gone. Hook, line, sinker. He also knew I would never cozy up to a Sterling heir. So Casey let me keep believing he was just another delivery guy. He really did moonlight as delivery to blow off steam. When Alexander resurfaced, the story spun out of his grip. He meant to confess, but that day, I cut him off. In short, another twist of fate. While I hid in self-imposed exile, he toppled Hawthorne Capital and left Sterling Industries gasping. Julian promised the two of them would never breathe the same air as me again. When I absorbed every word without flinching, the unflappable Julian panicked. Of course the spark was still there, but my heart refused to wipe the slate clean. So I turned down his plea to get back together. I stayed on in the hamlet, slowly carving a fresh path with indigo tie-dye. I finally leased my own courtyard studio, adopted a fluffy Pomeranian, and settled into a life that was quiet but solid, work when the sun was up, strolls with the pup when it dipped. The only variable was Julian's persistent intrusions. He had formally taken over his mother's conglomerate and was, predictably, brilliant at it. I assumed after my rejection we were done, yet he still showed up every few days, doing nothing except watch me, whether I was mixing dye, sweeping the porch, or humming off-key. Maybe heaven rewards dogged hearts, because the man finally caught a break. I had hosted a delegation of foreign buyers, and the deal meant my scarves might travel farther west than I'd ever dreamed. At the welcome dinner I downed 1 too many cups of house-made plum wine. Everyone in the village knew Julian trailed after me like a shadow no one could shake, so when closing time came Little simply handed my woozy self to the man waiting at the gate with a suitcase. What followed? Well, an entire night of rather athletic reconciliation. We were still legally married, after all, and passion has its own arithmetic. We woke up tangled and inexplicably back together. Call it the oldest reconciliation cliché in the book: fight at dusk, make up at dawn. Even after the patch-up I kept my courtyard studio, though Julian's possessions crept in, first a razor, then a stack of vinyl, finally a whole wall of records. The dog's daily walks shifted from my duty to his, because deadlines for new dye lots swallowed my evenings. Sometimes I joked that my net worth in the single-digit millions kept me busier than Julian's global empire. I was exhausted, deliriously happy, and, until the morning I peed on a stick, utterly oblivious that we had made more than peace. That was when I learned why he could play hooky so often. Apparently there is a magical creature called a professional manager. When my water broke his face went chalk white. I had never seen him so helpless. Doctors and midwives bustled about, perfectly calm, while Julian looked ready to faint. Before they wheeled me into the delivery room I called, "Julian." He bent close, voice shaking. "What is it? Are you hurting? Don't be afraid. We'll both come out fine. And, thank you for having all that money and still wanting only me. My name is Jamie. My parents split when I was small, and I grew up overseas with Mom. Maybe it was cultural dissonance, but every romance I tried felt lukewarm, like flat soda. After college I assumed I'd drift through life as a pleasantly useless heir. My maternal grandfather was filthy rich, my monthly allowance could float a yacht. Then graduation hit, the uncles cannibalized one another, and grandfather suddenly decided I might be the last competent branch on the family tree. I'm not power hungry, but when Mom tearfully begged me to try, I shrugged and said, why not? Casey, I flew home and started at a tiny subsidiary. Boardrooms scared me less than the labyrinth of Chinese social ritual I'd missed, so instead of night runs I clocked in as delivery, figuring the street would teach me the real rules. My third shift I got chewed out by a customer for being late. Helmet in hand, I trudged to the rooftop for a smoke and found Serafina teetering on the ledge in a white dress, wind whipping the hem like moth wings. Even fragile and pale, she was the most luminous creature I'd ever seen, my own personal movie ghost. I pulled her back. Later, when I traced her story, I learned my half-sister and her fiancé had orchestrated her ruin. I kept the blood tie to myself. We fell in love, we married in secret. I watched color return to her cheeks and laughter settle in her eyes, though nightmares still jerked her awake at 3 a.m. Therapists said the damage might be permanent, but love could sand the sharpest edges. Then Alexander barged in and Sarah collapsed, another blackout. The doctors murmured about catharsis, a chance to break before rebuilding. Fine, let the storm come. I already controlled the investment vehicle bankrolling Alexander's big project. Casey, tripping him up was child's play. The contract dragged on, forcing him to stay in town. The afternoon he stormed my house and shredded Sarah's composure. I was upstairs, fists balled, fighting the urge to dash down and shield her. But she deserved to blaze brighter than survival. Every night I stood on the balcony, cigarette glowing, wondering when honesty would stop feeling like a grenade. Once I crept back to bed, I'd shower twice to rinse the smoke, then lie still until the cold left my skin so she wouldn't stir. The night I finally tried to confess, she refused to listen. After that, the secret calcified. I confronted Celeste instead, rein Alexander in, or Sterling Industries would follow Hawthorne off the cliff. Yes, I raised Hawthorne Capital. Nobody terrorizes my wife and walks away. I thought I was invincible until Sarah vanished and I realized the chasm between us was my own lie. She had grown too savvy for my corporate trackers, but I'm married to her. A missing person report politely handed the police her exact coordinates in a misty Yunnan village. I visited, invisible, watching her bloom independent, radiant, forgetting me. Panic clawed my chest. I had to step into daylight and risk everything. I was terrified. Good intentions don't erase deception. And she turned me down flat. No matter, 1 day, 2 days, 1 year, 2. I would wait until the sky wore out. She would come home. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the story, please like and share it with friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what you felt, what you hoped, what you feared. Don't forget to subscribe for more tales that twist and turn until they spill into the light. See you next time.